In this video we're going to demonstrate a powerful new feature in version 12 Action Javascript, which is the ability to execute actions synchronously. So you can see here in this simple test case here we have a UX component with an on-click event, and the on-click event is going to open up two grids. It's going to open up the first grid, which is going to be grid 1, and it's going to put it in a div called grid 1. Then it's going to go and open up another grid called grid 2 and put that in a div called grid 2, and then finally it's going to display a message box that says that grid 1 and grid 2 have been shown. And clearly you would expect that what you would want is that this message box not to be shown until grid 1 and grid 2 have been displayed. But right now I'm going to just turn off that checkbox there. So let's go now and actually run this and see what happens. And I'm going to run it in Firefox so that we can see the callbacks taking place. So when I click this button here, you can see that as soon as I click the button, the message box comes up, and there are two callbacks that have been fired off. And the reason that this is happening is that Ajax callbacks are asynchronous, which means that an action is triggered and then the next action in the script is immediately triggered even though the first action hasn't been completed. So when we clicked the button, the two callbacks were immediately triggered, and then the third action, which displayed the message box, showed up immediately. So what we saw was the message box coming up and then two Ajax callbacks being made at more or less exactly the same time. So now I'm going to click OK, and now the Ajax callback's complete and I see the two grids over there. So the reason that this is happening, of course, is because those two Ajax callbacks are asynchronous. So now let's go back and edit this button event here and click this checkbox here that says run actions asynchronously. And when you do that, if we go look at the generated JavaScript, we'll see that Alpha 5 is now using a new function in the Alpha 5 JavaScript library called execute this then that, which allows you to chain an arbitrary number of JavaScript functions one after the other and execute them in order. So this function allows you to easily convert asynchronous code into synchronous code. So now that we've checked this box right now, let's go ahead now and rerun our component. So now when we watch the callbacks here, we'll see the callbacks happening one at a time. So I'll click the button and there's the first callback to open the first grid, then the second callback to open the second grid, and then finally the message box comes up after both grids have been opened. So let's just do that again because it still happened pretty quickly so you can see it. So I click the button and the first callback, then the second callback, and then the message. So we've been able to very easily turn an asynchronous script into a synchronous script, and in this particular case the results of the script being asynchronous weren't catastrophic, but in many cases you're going to get completely unwanted results if a script is running asynchronously, because the second script might really depend on the first script having been completed. It might, for example, want to read a value from the grid or do something that really does depend on the first action having been completed. So the ability to very easily convert asynchronous code into synchronous code using the new A5 execute this then that function is a powerful new addition in version 12. Thanks very much for watching.